Chantal, what's going on?
Saying the shot didn't pose a high risk of causing blood clots. Jim, you just mentioned AstraZeneca, of course, yet another potential entrant. We're going to have a lot of vaccine.
All right. Nobody had trouble getting into the room, right? I always worry that when I set up the new trade room password, that I don't reopen the room and I leave it locked. So at least I know I didn't do that because people are here.
Does not have a policy in terms of getting the so-called vax passport. But I would say, David.
All right, we're going to get started. It's Monday. This is a quiet week this week. Next week will be busier. So let's get started. Welcome to the 10-Minute Trades Trading Room, Existing Homes. My name is Lee Goldstein. I'm the trading director at 10-Minute Trades, and I'm originally from New York. Now I live in Pennsylvania, and I teach people to trade the futures markets. Please remember, all trades are for educational purposes, and it is possible to lose money trading futures, so trade carefully. I just remembered we're streaming, aren't we? So let's get our streaming set up. Say hello to our YouTube watchers. So if you're watching us on YouTube, why not subscribe to the channel? Now you could give us a like, and you can hit the notification bell, and that way you'll know the next time we're going to be here. All right. Market's opening. 9:30. I'll tell you, there's nothing I love more than going to a stream of like a company that I follow. Like I'm a maniac for like wireless earbuds. So I love El Jefe's Sunday night stream. Every Sunday, almost every Sunday night, he streams live. And like a bunch of maniacs like me that love wireless earbuds are in the room talking about which ones are great. And I think we should do that with news trading. Rather than just stream the trade, I think we should have a weekly stream and just talk. Talk and learn about news trading. I think it'd be a lot of fun. So, yeah, but I have time to do that. That's the biggest problem with all this stuff is time. All right. Good morning, Fred. So another week. The past couple of weeks have been difficult trading. No question about that. I'm wearing my old-fashioned gaming headphones. They have the best quality sound. There's no question about it. Old-fashioned gaming headphones. See? Good mic, the whole bit. All right. Now, what I would like to do is have another camera so you can see my screens. In other words, I guess I need a GoPro. That would do what I want to do. All right. So good morning, everybody. I am a human being, real person, and I can't turn off my webcam. That's funny. My mouse won't go there. There it is. Okay. So good morning, everybody. Let's look at last month's existing home sales trade. It was in January. No, it was in February 19th. And it was a 58 entry, which in these markets it scares the heck out of me. But this trade has been safe. Now, I don't know how. Oh, you know what? We didn't trade this live last month. Interesting. That would explain why none of my testing made any sense. Okay, last month we did not trade this live. I think that last month is Chantal, in your testing. Good morning, Mike. Do you really think that last month was a winning trade? I think it was a stop. I don't think that it would have worked. In all my testing at every single time frame, 58, 59, and 00, I could not get this report to work last month. It just didn't work. So, I mean, in sim, because of the entry, because of the speed and irrationality of the original move, you can't tell in sim what really happened. You can look at the charts, you can look at the range chart and get an idea where you would have been filled, but I don't think it was a winning trade. That's my personal opinion. Anyway, so we'll just say that February was a very difficult trade. Okay, fair enough. February was difficult. Now, last month, 2 months ago, existing homes, that was Flash Manufacturing. January 22nd, we traded it live. I believe our entry time has been 58. Yeah, that was a little bit scary entry-wise. Nothing wrong with the trade other than the fact that the direction of gold, we can't really count on the direction of gold working anymore because it doesn't. Gold does not give us its normal directionality. That's the one thing that we are struggling with. Now, I don't really care if the trade works. If you get a single direction move, that's fine. But it makes it difficult to do a follow-up or to stay in the trade because you become concerned that there's going to be a pullback if gold decides to act the way the news should make it act. It makes it harder. I mean, that's just the reality. It makes it harder to trade it. Gold is, I'm not going to use the B word, but gold is a B word right now, as Brittany would say. My name is Brittany, B word. That's what gold is. November, I'm not showing December's existing homes because it was Christmas week. Christmas week trading is not normal. And you had very positive existing home sales. And my name is Brittany. Not sure why I didn't trade it. Let me see what my notes say. So that was November. It looked like a good trade. Looked like a winner. November 19th, existing homes. I just want to see if I made any notes. Canceled trade as offset was great. And there was no initial impact. Okay, so I guess I didn't trust it. But what we've learned since November is things are much slower to happen. So I would probably, in talking about why things are difficult as of late, if you really want to learn, do you really want to learn? Do you really want the truth? Can you take the truth? I don't know if most people can take the truth. Here's the truth. These markets are abnormal. Large moves in indexes are the norm. We're having moves of over 100 points on the NQ, which is not normal. It's not the way it used to be. GC may have unknown long-term, short-term issues. Are cryptocurrencies part of the problem? It's possible. News is being released inconsistently. Reports often not releasing at the same time. Philly Fed last week was like a minute early. Gold is reacting more slowly to the news also. And gold is not respecting the results with its direction after the news comes out. These are problems, okay, that we have to deal with. So what does that cause? It causes us to be entered into trades in the wrong directions, and sometimes before the reports release because of our entry times and because gold is volatile before the news. It doesn't respect small brackets. We might be currently relying too much on gold for too many reports right now. Now, these are just thoughts that I put down because it's my job to figure out what's going on. And I better be aware of what's going on. So what can make us safer? Okay, what do I think can make us safer? I think we can make our cancel times a little bit longer because that way we might actually get into a trade rather than cancel it. Slightly bigger brackets, not huge brackets. Huge brackets don't always solve the problem. Entry times, whenever they can be a little bit later, they should be. And of course, we have to keep looking for alternative indexes. Okay. Now, if you look at last week's Bank of England, now I don't know how many people really do their own testing, but you can trust me when I tell you that last week's Bank of England had a bracket of 5. And in these markets, if we use a bracket of 5 on a bank report, you're going to get stopped. It's too small. I don't recommend a bracket of 5 on any bank reports. You got to use 8. You got to. And using an 8 on the Bank of England would have been an awesome trade. Now, we didn't have a trade room for that report. I thought it was risky. So I analyzed it and looked at it and tried to figure out why it hasn't been performing lately. And I think our setup needs some work. And I think the bracket would help it. This was October's existing home trade. You see that quick crazy fill? It jolted down and then reversed. I mean, this is one of the issues we're dealing with gold. Irrational behavior. You know, little jerks like that, rather than a steady. See, it just moved enough. Now, something else I didn't say is another thing you can do to keep yourself safe is have slightly bigger stops. Look, that trade hit our stop and didn't go further. Now, wait, I take that back. Wait a minute. Let me make sure. Let's see if 370. It's pretty darn close. Stop was 20, 20, 20, 03, 20, 02, 50. Let me just think if that makes sense. Too small a stop, without a doubt. Okay. Too small a stop, without a doubt. And I do believe we've increased it. The stop is 11 now. And that would have helped on that trade. Okay, so watching the NQ, okay? Watching the NQ. NQ, we saw on CPI 2 weeks ago that if you get a good setup on the NQ, you can have a good trade. Part of the problem with the NQ is sometimes testing doesn't move over very well into live trading. Sometimes the testing's really good, then you bring the NQ into live and it's a disaster. Not always. And that's because it's very difficult to find a proper setup on the NQ because it's so squirrely. So our setup, I mean, I don't really have an issue with my setup today. The only thing I would consider would be entering at 59. Just for fun, let's look at this was September. The entry time was 58 on the trade. I mean, I don't think that entry time was necessarily the problem in that trade. Now, that trade was slow to start. Now, this was September 22nd. This is one of those weird videos. You can see it's corrupt. It won't let me adjust it properly. Unfortunately, it won't. Maybe if I stop it. No, this video is corrupt. Unfortunately, it's right before. I don't want to wait 4 minutes before this trade. We don't have time. And it won't let me put the yeah, see, there must be something wrong with the video. That's okay. It didn't work. So existing homes, very, very, very inconsistent as of late. There's no two ways about it. No two ways about it. At best, it's a 50-50. at best. So I think the news is going to be good. I think that existing homes are fantastic. I'd be surprised if the news was not a very good number. In other words, I think that there's a ton of existing sales. If they have the inventory, the big problem is finding the inventory. So you could get a bad number because there might not be enough inventory. That's the elephant in the room for existing home sales. So we did a whole bunch of testing on this report. And we thought that a slightly bigger bracket looked better. Now, I don't think, in all honesty, folks, I don't think this report, I really, good morning, Helen. I don't think that, I certainly wouldn't trade this big. I certainly wouldn't trade it big. I'm going to trade the DMM. And I think what I'm going to do is just trade one contract. I just, spending $200 on a trade that really isn't working, it doesn't make sense, right? So I'll look for 5 ticks to see if the trade is working with the current DMM. And that means an entry time of 9:59:58. And if it doesn't work, then we do have an alternative that has to be looked at still by my boss. But this has been a report. It has not been bad. It has not been bad, but as of late, it's a 50-50, okay, at best. So I don't think, that you want to trade 50-50s. I don't want to spend $200 on a 50-50. And when I say $200, if I get stopped out, I'm going to lose $200. But I do want to see if our setup is still viable. All right. It's had 2 out of 3 that have worked. So I want to see if it's still viable. It's a bracket of 6. I'm going to just trade one contract, just looking for 5 ticks. I want to see if I can get, as little as 5 ticks in between the targets of 3 and 7. And there's a part of me that does not like trading this way because I'd rather trade both contracts. And if it hits the first target, it's only a target of 3. You follow me? It's only a target of 3. So really the way to know if the report works is by trying to get the first target. So I'm not going to change the report by changing the target. It's not an issue of risking more than I can make. It's an issue of, is our setup viable? Okay. A, do you get filled early? B, does gold move in the direction of the news if there's an offset? You know, all the things I mentioned before. So I'm just looking for the first target. I'm just looking for 3 ticks. All right. Bracket of 6, 1 position for 3 ticks, a stop of 11. I want to see if the trade works, because gold has been really, really difficult in the past weeks. So that's why I'm doing it this way. I'm really looking for info. Okay. That's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for info as to whether or not the setup is viable. Entry time 9:59:58. 1 target. Just looking for 3 ticks. That's it. All right. And we'll see how it behaves. We'll see how gold behaves. 1 position, 3 ticks. By the way, I promised I would post videos. I've posted trap trade videos, and I've posted 2 Ninja Trader tutorial videos. If you go to the website and go to the quick start, you'll see a section now on the trap trade. Going to the website time.is to get our time, get my computer in sync. And then if you go to the website under Ninja Trader tutorials, I also posted how do you make that little volume checker that I made. I put that video up there, and I put a video up. And these are videos that anybody can access. You don't have to be a member, but you do have to create a login account on 10minutetrades.com. And I put up the video, how to trade the DMM without software. So instead of not trading this report, right, I would not personally, this is my family's money. I don't trade this report. Okay. Because the results are not strong enough right now. Doesn't mean it's not going to work today, but I am trading 1 contract looking for the first target to see the validity of our current setup with the difficulties of gold recently. So I think that's a perfectly reasonable approach to take. Okay. In fact, you know, some people might say, hey, that's your job. I really would love extra charts, 1 extra chart. I wish there was a way to have more room. So the NQ in our testing was not really that good on this trade. It really didn't lend itself. There wasn't really a lot of things that moved much on this particular news right now. This particular news has just not been, in the past couple of months or 3 months or so, very impactful. Just hasn't been doing much. Now, a bracket of 6. We've tested a bracket of 8. It's got about 20 seconds. So we're interested in, does gold go in the right direction? Is 58 safe? It's pretty quiet right now. The entry time was perfectly safe. The news is negative. Gold should go up. It should go up and hit the target. Okay, so now let's watch, because we want to see if our setup is viable. Would we have hit that second target? Gold, so we learned a couple of things. A, notice, you got to give me credit for being totally patient, which I never am. I didn't touch a thing. So somebody just say, hey, great job. And right now, I'm thinking that what I said before, there's not enough inventory, so the sales were down. And we're looking to see, is there a follow through? You had a couple more ticks. We got filled at 27.20. We got taken out at our target of 30, and it went 4 more ticks. Okay. If we used targets of 3 and 7, you would have just barely, you might not have gotten filled on that last one. You might have. No, David, I decided to go with the DMM, because what's the point of trading for a target we're not using? So, but just look at the way gold's moving. This report would have worked to hit the second target today, it looks like. The second target was 7 ticks. Mike, I'm guessing you traded as per DMM, so you can be my guinea pig. And I'm assuming you hit both your targets. So I would say that as of now, we can continue with this setup. It's over 50%, or, we have to check the results. But I think there's something to be learned from doing it the way that I did it today. It's kind of my job to let us know if our setup is workable. And right now, our setup is still workable on this trade. And that's what I want to find out as much as possible over the next couple of weeks. I'm going to be doing this a little bit more often. Rather than not trading, I'll trade one. If it's a report that isn't performing well, then I might do it this way. It's going to depend on the report, depend on my confidence in the report. Now, what we saw today, it doesn't mean it's the way things are going to be all week. The news was negative. Gold went up. It had a great reversal, though, also. Okay. After the trade, you did get a good reversal signal on the squeeze on the 60-minute chart. Now the NQ, let's look at the video. Yeah, exactly, Mike. I'll take my $50 and move on to the next trade, or I'll take my 30. I mean, I totally get what you're saying. Totally get it. Every trade is not going to be a home run, and it's like such a cliche. It's so true. Sometimes my job has to be to do some testing live, because if you don't test live, you don't know 100% what really happened. I can't stress that more. You have to understand that sometimes when you trade sim, the entry can be different because of slippage, speed of movement, issues like that. Let's look at the video. Couple of things to learn from this trade. What'd the NQ do? What if we entered at 0-0? Chantal did some testing that showed that 0-0 had possibilities and a bigger bracket. When I tested her testing, I did not have good results. And I'm not saying there's something wrong with her testing. Sometimes you have to look at the range chart. Now, 0-0 was perfectly safe today. This trade didn't fill till quite late. Watch gold. It didn't fill till well after 0-0. Now, a bracket of 8, I think, is too big for this trade. It would have just filled you. It would have just filled you, and it would need to go a little further to get that first target. I just think a bracket of 8, it's a little big for this trade. And Chantal will probably argue with me, and we'll argue about it. And she's a better tester than me, I'm not going to lie. But because I'm the one doing the trading, I have to make the decision. But that means I have to test her tests, which I do. And if I change her tests, it's because of the way I anticipate that I might trade it. Okay. Let's look at the NQ. The NQ, very volatile. It's up over 150 points today. Give me a break. Now watch the NQ. Nice move up. Absolutely a tradable move. Today. So Chantal, I don't know if this is a much better NQ move than this report's been doing previously, but that was a very, very tradable NQ move. Now, the only way to know 100% though is don't forget, you have to look at a range chart, because just for fun, let's take a look real quick at a range chart. So I keep usually a range chart floating around in my setup, okay? But we want it on the NQ. The range chart, what's great about the range chart, it shows you every little tick. Every tick. It's the only way to know for sure if it was safe to trade. So you go back to the time of the report, right? 10 o'clock. $58, really. 950, 958. That's when we put our orders on. Right there, our orders went on the chart. What you're looking for, did it go against you? First of all, what would the bracket have been? Minimum 8, okay? Minimum 8 on an NQ trade news these days. So if 58 was the candle, then let's say, argument's sake, 2 points. 2 points from there. Let's say 1309.75, just to ballpark it. So 1309.75, somewhere in this area, you got your fill. Let's say you got a lousier fill. let's say you got a point lousy, you still had a very nice possibility, depending on liquidity, for a safe NQ trade. See, you don't have any kickback against you to stop you out. You would have gotten filled somewhere. And then there's one other tool you might want to look at, the data box. The data box, right click the chart, show data box. When you highlight a candle, it shows you the volume of that candle. And you could see how small it is on NQ5 and 5. And that's why you might not get filled until up towards the top. And that's why it can get tricky. See you, Mike. Okay. Low volume on a candle means very few orders get filled, right? That means not a lot of liquidity. The NQ is not known for tons of liquidity, nor is gold. So those are things that you have to keep in mind. This particular trade, see that? What if you got filled here? What if you got filled at the top? Probably you could have gotten your worst fill could have been here. It went up, but it went back down. And that most likely would have minimally, the worst fill could have been 1312-ish. And it still went 12 ticks. I almost always use a first target of 7 to 9 ticks on the NQ. And I think in these markets, if you're trading news with the NQ, you better use a 20 tick stop. So I think this would have been a viable NQ possibility. I think it would have been possible. Now, what's also fascinating is that gold reversal after the news. Okay. Unfortunately, you did not have any special level to take that reversal off of. It was over here, 10 o'clock. But you did have a signal from the squeeze on the 1-minute chart. The 30-second chart is preferable for squeeze signals on news trade reversals. And the way that you read it, so you look for the time of the trade, and it actually, you can't count this because you would have been in the trade. So really, the 30-second, it wasn't as good today as the 1-minute because you got a reversal signal at 30 seconds after the news came out. You would have been just getting out of your trade. I think it was just a tough signal to see on the 30-second chart. It was much easier to see 3 minutes later. It's interesting on the 1-minute chart. But the question is, could you have gotten in 3 minutes later? Quick look. Watch. So there's our trade. It's still going up at 10:02. So it looks like you're getting that signal at 10:02, right? 10:02:30. So it's halfway down. You see how far down it is already before you get a good reversal signal? But it still worked. You had to be quick, though, okay? You know, in reports that don't move large amounts, reversals are, you really have to question whether you want to do them. Okay. The key, yes, Sandy, the software update is posted. And thank you so much for the FedEx, by the way. Thank you so much. I have a really good psychiatrist. No, I'm teasing. I'm teasing you. I didn't go through everything yet, Sanji. I still have been going through some of the stuff you emailed me before you sent the FedEx. It's certainly fascinating, to say the least. My point that I was going to make is you don't really want to screw around with reversals unless you have a report that moves a lot. Okay? You want to have a report that moves 25, 30 ticks in gold to make it worthwhile, right? I think 25. So not that this is a huge winner. It's not why I'm taking a picture of it. But if I decide to make an educational video, I want this picture. Well, I hope this was a useful trade room for everybody. Okay, all right. You guys got me curious. What is Bob's bot? What is Bob's bot? First of all, how much is Bob's bot? I've never seen a bot that works for more than a couple of weeks. I've never seen a bot that was fairly priced. So tell me what you guys are talking about, please. Bob who? And what's the deal? And you're allowed to talk about it in the room because I asked. I know Bob Amico. I've heard of Bob Amico. Yeah, I'm familiar with him. Not to the point where I could say whether I recommend him or not. I just know the name. So what's the deal with his bot? What's it trade? A friend bought it but never used it. How much was it, David? Big drawdowns. Greg, see you. Do you want to know when we'll be back, Greg? We'll be back tomorrow. Here's the schedule. Yeah, most people charge thousands for bots that don't work. Tomorrow, I'm going to trade new home sales, folks. 9:30, the same way we just did existing homes. Okay. A little bit later entry. A little bit later entry. And it's also trading with Richmond Manufacturing. It's no DMM, but we do have a trade room. So I'll see everybody tomorrow at 9:30, and then we have API. Okay, Greg, I'll see you tomorrow. Liz, I agree with you. I've never met a bot I could trust. Never. I've bought many a bot in my time. I've bought many a bot. I would love to buy a bot that works. But if a bot worked, you know what they say. Why would they sell it? Chantal, we can close out YouTube, folks. I think this was a great trade room. If you're watching, you should subscribe to our channel, give us a like, and hit the notification bell so you can enjoy the education the next time you get here. Chantal, if you want to shut down the YouTube stream.